From an 80s rock concert to the present and now, it is Winning Wednesday, a suddenly not so casual one at that. May the 3rd, 2023. It is the Shark. It is the Gun. It is Sports Wagering Network. And, of course, Sharky Waters Nation. 9 words of fucking lifestyle. Ride the way we got the water. Guns picks. What's going on, my brother?
Man, oh, man. I'm doing good today, but yesterday I did absolutely terrible. I was 1-2, but you know what I do? I recap, I regroup, and I readjust to make things perfect for today. And I'm not only going to bring you 3 plays, but I'm going to bring you 5 plays today. So I am pumped. I am jazzed, and we are going to sweep the damn board today. Let's get it started. Let's roll.
Yeah, as you said, of course, I was 1-3 yesterday. This is the longest sport in the American sports calendar, 162 games. Manage the bankroll. Stay with us. Top plays drop right now. Guns picks not waiting around. 6:40 p.m. Eastern in Miami. Yet again, divisional rivalry baseball, NL East. You are backing the road team, and Kyle Wright, first 5, the first official of the broadcast.
Hey, if loving Kyle Wright is wrong, then I don't want to be right because I'm going to be on right today. Because I love this guy right now. First 5, he is absolutely money. He's 4-0 as a starter this season in first 5 situations. He's also on a 20-1 run dating back to 2022, and he has actually won 13 straight in F5s. I'm talking about he's always been leading after first 5s. I don't care about his whip. I know his whip's a little bit high, but guess what? This guy gets it done. Now, Miami's going to bring out Garrett today. Garrett's a solid starter. I'll give you that. 4 starts this season. He's only given up 3 runs per 5 innings. 1-1-2 in those 5 starts, in 4 starts. But now he's in one of those starts. He was on the road to Atlanta. He gave up 4 versus them in 5 innings on the 27th in a 4-0 F5 loss. But you know what? Garrett is a left-handed pitcher, and guess what Atlanta likes to do? They love to tee off on lefties. They got a .283 batting average versus lefties this season, and that in comparative to the righties, they're only .241 in batting average. Atlanta is. I'm talking about here. So I'm going to be rolling with Wright. He's on the streak. I love to ride streaks, and we'll be talking about another streak coming up here soon with the Boston-Toronto game that I talked about yesterday. But I'm going to be rolling with Atlanta. First 5 -140 as the play.
Yeah, and the next 4 plays, Guns and I are on the same games. And, of course, for the sake of brevity and pace before tip-off here, or I should say first pitch and tip-off, a big NBA game tonight, we're going to only talk about the games that we are focused on. And the second game is in the Bronx, and it is the Road Clubhouse. Shane Bieber on the road. I'm on this officially. 121 unit on the money line for the game. The Gun has the first 5. I will throw it to him in a second. Going through the details of this game, the first thing that you notice when you look at Shane Bieber on the road this year, he did start 0-3. Situational analysis. At Seattle, out of division, Pacific Coast. At Oakland, back-to-back games, same division, Pacific Coast. And then at Washington. Since then, 1-0 in his last 1 at Boston. And that brings you to the trends and the specificity of handicapping an ace, Shane Bieber. Shane Bieber last year did the exact same thing, in fact. He lost a game at Seattle in which he pitched reasonably well. And he also lost his only National League game last year at Colorado, giving up 9 hits in 5 innings. The game this year against the National League at Washington, 9 hits in 6 innings. This guy is robotic. And when you start to really zone into tonight's matchup, he pitches very well in these road starts against the American League East and contenders. He is 5-0 against the money line in his last 5 against Baltimore Road, Dodgers Road, Tampa Bay, Toronto, New York in the playoffs, and as I mentioned, 1-0 this year against Boston. This is where he pitches very well. He's already aced the Yankees this season at home, 7 innings pitched, only 2 earned runs. And crucial point on that, that was a much better Yankees lineup where Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton were still on the live roster here. Of course, both injured now as the Yankees are hampered with injuries. And you go to the other side of this game, you find Clark Schmidt coming home here. Clark Schmidt actually did win his only decision of the year at Cleveland. key point there, he was favored on the road. So if the weighting of that was supposed to stay the same, he would bump up in this matchup to a $150, 65, 70. It's moving towards Bieber because that's what Bieber does. And if you really look at Clark Schmidt at home this year, very, very poor numbers at home. Cleveland should get there tonight. Guns picks, alignment. Talk to me on the first 5.
Yeah, I'm looking at the first 5 on this one. Minus 130, you can get. I got that earlier today. Hopefully that line stays the same. But Bieber is on the mound here. He's 3-0-1 this season in first 5s on the road. He's only given up 1.75 runs per outing in that regard. Now Schmidt, not a good guy to back in first 5s. He's 0-4-2 this season, giving up 3.33 runs per game in first 5 situations. Now, when you look at Cleveland, they're 6-3-4 in their last 13 games in first 5s as well. I think Cleveland just gets it done here. And like you said, line correlation tells you everything about the story here. I'm going to be rolling with Bieber on this one, not Justin. I'm talking about the pitcher from the Cleveland Guardians. Give me them minus 130 first 5.
Precisely. And staying course with the first 5s, we're going back to the AL East. This is an in-the-division rivalry game here. Alek Manoah, 6'6", 285 out of West Virginia. Not a tight end or a D lineman, a big right-handed pitcher for the Blue Jays. Guns picks, I'll throw it back to you, and then I will jump off because we have alignment on this play. Toronto in the first 5 on the run line.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I like run. You like run line. I'm going to be taking them here a little bit more conservative on this point. I'm going to be taking the money line here, minus 145 on this one. Listen, Manoah's on the mound. He hasn't been really too stellar this year. 1-1-4 in first 5 situations. But on the road, he has 2 shutouts out of his 3 starts on the road. So he's able to get it done when the team travels. Now, Pavetta's on the mound for Boston, and he hasn't been great in the first 5 situations. 0-3-2 in first 5s this season, giving up 3.2 runs per 5 and 4.3 runs per 5 at home. Now you got to look at Manoah here. When they go against Boston, he's absolutely electric. You go back to last year, he was 4-0 as a starter in first 5 versus Boston, only giving up 2 runs in those starts. And I'm talking 2 runs total. He gave up 1 in 2 starts and shut him out in the other 2. Also, you got to look at Toronto. They're on a 7-0-4 F5 run right now. And also, you got to look at this situation. I talked about this last time. When Toronto in first 5s versus Boston, they are 16-1-4 now. And we got, including the cover last night, which was remarkable because they did it in the 5th inning, putting up 6 runs when they were down 3-0 going top of the 5th. But they got it done here. And also, you got to look at the situation. Listen, Toronto's off a loss here, folks. They lost the game late to Boston in a battle. And I think Manoah is just going to get it done here, especially in a first 5 situation. So giving them money line minus 145 as a play.
Yeah, as I mentioned, alignment, and jumping off of what Guns said, you're seeing very specific, detailed stuff here for both pitchers. As Guns said, Manoah at home this year just cannot find it. His numbers are terrible. And one thing that really stood out to me was his whip. And it was largely accentuated by walks. This year at home, he's only had 14 innings pitched, 19 hits, which is a lot in and of itself, but 13 walks too. And if you go on the road, he's just an absolute ace. 14 innings pitched, 0 earned runs on the road against the American League this year. He did get hammered in the opener at St. Louis. We'll throw that out for the sake of the conversation here. And if you really go to Nick Pivetta is the polar opposite. Nick Pivetta is a better road pitcher. He is not particularly good at Fenway Park, and he is not good at Fenway Park versus the Jays lineup. Only matchup last year, it was April the 20th last year. So it was in this portion of the season, which is also important. A lot of times pitchers will get into their flow in June. So you get the same pitcher every year in April, and you get the same pitcher every year in June. He wasn't very good last April, early season against Toronto. 4 innings pitched, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 6-1 loss. This is where Manoah should lock it in. As you mentioned, he has great BVP numbers against this lineup. And I think this Red Sox lineup is a little bit pedestrian, obviously coming off of probably their peak 4 or 5 years ago. And this is what we want to buy Manoah, coming off yet another pedestrian to below average whip environment at home in his last start against Seattle. He did get the win, but again, runners on base the whole game. He should be locked in here tonight. I'm on the run line at -0.5. I think just taking the price down a little bit. Of course, that is a probability, but I think it is suggestive of a cover here. So we're on that, and that's conversation on that. Next game, we're going down to Kansas City. This is an out of division game, which is very interesting. Obviously, the Kansas City Royals here really taking on bottom feeder status, but I think you're seeing some some significant intrigue in this pitching matchup, which does involve two veteran pitchers. Of course, Zach Greinke, 39 years old, born in 1983, a year it was, and Kyle Gibson, 35. But I'll jump off of Guns. Guns has a total here, first 5 over 5 runs.
Yeah, I almost added the Baltimore money line on this one just on the fact that KC just can't get it done in 5 innings. But I'm going to be just playing the total straight up on this one. Over 5 minus 115 is what I got it at now. Listen, Gibson is going to be taking the mound for Baltimore. Dating back to 2022, he is 3-13 in first 5s on the road, giving up 3.23 runs per outing in after 5 innings. Now, like I said, with KC's 1-14-2 in first 5s in the last 17 games, 5-21 this season. Absolutely a team to not back. So keep that in mind when you're wanting to put any money on KC, especially in first 5 situations. They give up 3.36 runs per outing in first 5s at home too. So this is why I'm going to be taking this total here. Now dating back to 2022, when these two teams meet, the over has hit 7 out of the last 8 meetings between these two teams, including last night, on an average of 6.75 runs per 5 innings here, folks. So you're getting it at 5. You're getting it above their average here, folks. And I'm just going to be riding the trend on this one. I think there's going to be a lot of runs. Kyle Gibson doesn't really perform too well on the road. Granted, this season, he's actually got 2 wins on the road and actually pitched a lot better than he did last season. But I can't trust Greinke at all. Greinke does give up a lot of runs as well. So I'm going to be going with Baltimore. The Baltimore KC over 5 first 5 minus 115 as a play.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think the total could get some overaction here, but I think it's going to be centered on Kyle Gibson, honestly, being very poor on the road. You made a couple comments there. I want to go in a little more detail in the Zach Greinke situation, because Zach Greinke is not just his blanket statistics. You have to really go through his starts. He hasn't been very good on the road. 2 out of his last 3 road starts, he's been absolutely obliterated. And in fact, it was his last 2 games. He comes in here off a road sequence at the Angels and at Minnesota. 5 innings pitched, 4 earned, and at Minnesota, worst of the group. 8 hits, 7 earned in 3 2/3. He's had 3 home starts this year, 2 against the American League. He is 2-0 against the first 5 run line. Guns had said don't back KC in the first 5 run line. Again, Kansas City as a 40-man roster is not Zach Greinke at home. And of course, you have to remember he came up with the Royals back 20 years ago. He does find comfort. Zach Greinke is a notable heady pitcher. Very cerebral, thinks a lot. If he's comfortable, you want to back him. He is comfortable down here at Kauffman Stadium. And again, against the American League this year, he did open up the season. It was March 30th against Minnesota and April 5th against Toronto. Toronto and Minnesota, both very representative lineups. He didn't give up an earned run in the first 5 in either of those games. Both of those games finished 0-0. In the first 5, and he covered it. And that was against ace quality pitchers, Pablo Lopez, and I believe the pitcher for Toronto that day was Kevin Gausman, or one of their top-level starters. So the point is here, he's going to pitch very well tonight. Gibson should not. Gibson has 1 isolated good road start at Texas. For whatever reason, he pitched well at Texas last year. I believe he used to pitch for Texas. I think that could be a little bit of a focus point when he faces that team. But this guy is just purely not very good on the road, and he's not very good specifically at the AL Central. He's coming off a dud performance at Detroit last Thursday, 4 1/3, 8 hits, 3 earned runs, didn't cover the first 5. And prior at the White Sox, who are really running just an absolute grease fire campaign, 5 1/3, 7 hits, 4 earned runs. I expect the Royals to be potentially in the lead after first 5 tonight. If not, I'm on it at +0.5. I think this will be tied. We're on it for 1 unit +0.5 minus 114.
I will say this. My stats are only on wins and losses here. I'm not talking about ties or anything like that. If you would be taking a situation on this one, yeah, I don't hate what you're saying in there on that +0.5 a run.
Right. And again, it's just specific to Kyle Greinke pitching at home against the American League. And it's a comfort zone for him. And as I mentioned, Kyle Gibson is just not pitching well in this environment at all. Final play, and we have alignment on this one as well. Going to Colorado and Colorado Rockies and the Kansas City Royals. A lot of these teams that look terrible, and I will mention the White Sox and the Cardinals, these teams will improve in their win-loss. We're not saying these teams are playoff teams. We're not saying they're going to go to the World Series, but some of these teams that have come out just absolutely horrendously will take on a bye environment. And something that I talk about all the time, over the course of 162 games, there's less zigzag than you see in other sports where it's purely win-loss, 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 win-loss. In baseball, because it's so extrapolated and extended to 162, you have to kind of look at it in a little more of a clustered sense. You see Colorado coming in here on a dub 2. People would say, wow, they're too hot. I disagree. I think when you look at baseball, you have to look at the clusters as 3 to 5 game samples as opposed to 1 as they correlate to other sports. So this team is catching momentum. And I do think if you look at the pitching matchup here, it's pretty uncanny stuff. Kyle Freeland pitching against Milwaukee last year was an absolute ace. He, on the road, 0 earned runs.
When you order a Big Mac in the McDonald's app today,
as the music plays,
you earn points you can redeem.
Sorry, guys. True apologies for that. But Kyle Freeland, for whatever reason, pitches great against Milwaukee. Aced him on the road, 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 0 earned runs. And at home against Milwaukee at Coors Field, which, of course, altitude can really throw things off, 6 innings pitched, only 2 hits, 1 earned run, won both games. And key point here, and I'll throw it to the gun for a first 5 look, the second game at Coors Field was against Eric Lauer. Young pitcher, inconsistent, has been great on the road this year so far. 3-0 on the road, 19 innings pitched, only 5 earned runs. I truly think that's fool's gold. I think he's way too clean on the road. And last year at Coors Field, he did get hammered. 2 2/3 innings pitched, 7 earned runs. Colorado showing upward movement. This line is moving heavily towards Colorado. That is intelligent, sharp steam. On it tonight for the game plus 100, 1 unit. Guns picks with the first 5 official.
Yeah, you know me. I'm only Mr. First 5, Mr. Worldwide. That's all I mess with. I don't deal with bullpens. I only deal with starters. Now let's talk about this team right here. The Chicago money line minus 104, first 5 is what I'm going to be going with. And you said a lot of those key points there. Freeland on the mound here. Freeland is 3-1-2 in his last 6 starts in first 5s this season. His only loss was a 13-run beating to the red-hot Pittsburgh Pirates. So when you throw that game out the window and you actually look at the rest of the games, he's only given up 1.2 runs per 5 innings. He has a 1.17 whip as well. Now, you get Lauer for Milwaukee on this one. He's given up 3 runs per 5 innings in his starts, 2 and 3 this season in first 5. Now you got Milwaukee has only had a lead in 2 out of the last 8 games in 5 innings, where Colorado has led in 4 out of the last 7. Also, got to look at Colorado, 4-1 in the last 5 meetings versus Milwaukee in first 5, dating back to 2022. And also, Freeland does well versus Milwaukee in first 5s. He's only given up 1 run in 2 starts versus Milwaukee, and he's 2-0, having the lead in those spots. So I'm going to be back in Freeland on this one. I think it's a good spot, especially versus Lauer, who is susceptible of giving up runs. So give me Colorado money line minus 104, first 5 innings as the play.
Yeah, and that'll wrap it up. 4 top plays for me. Colorado plus 101 unit. Cleveland Guardians on the road. Shane Bieber, as Guns mentioned, not Justin, Shane Bieber minus 120. First 5, Alek Manoah on the road at Fenway, where he pitches great on the run line, minus a half, and Greinke in Kansas City, plus a half, also on the run line. Guns picks with top 5 top plays. Toronto alignment, Colorado first 5, Atlanta first 5, 8 minutes till the first pitch. Cleveland in the first 5, alignment there, and the over in Kansas City, I think suggestive of Kyle Gibson, the Orioles pitcher, not functioning well on the road, not functioning well in this division on the road. 4 top plays for me, 5 for the Guns picks, 20 minutes in the books. Beautiful Wednesday afternoon. Close them out with some words, and let's dominate.
Yeah, just check us out daily. We'll be giving daily shows, daily picks, and we'll have a lot of people on this show. We'll talk about the Dabby Cat, we'll talk about the Philly Sharp, and many more as this show grows. So please hit the like, please subscribe if you don't yet. And join the SWN so you don't miss a single damn show. We don't know if we're going to go live at 6. We could go live at noon, depending on the slate. So you might as well check that out. And we're going to have a electric card this weekend. But that's going to do it. Thanks for joining us. And let's cash some tickets tonight. Let's have a better day bounce back style. And as always, let's keep dancing. Bang.